Guys, this is a second video relating to the Alexander Povetkin situation after the first video I did yesterday, which related to performance enhancing drugs in boxing. Now, since that video, I've been in conversation with a number of people regarding my opinions on Povetkin and the Povetkin-Wilder fight. Let me say, this video isn't directed at one person or another. As I say, quite literally I've received multiple messages from a variety of people, long-term subscribers, other YouTube contributors, etc., regarding Povetkin versus Wilder and my thoughts on Povetkin's performance-enhancing drug use. So I wanted to do another video to really lay down my thoughts as clearly as possible on why I believe Alexander Povetkin is a drug cheat. Now, I've been amazed, I've been amazed by the amount of people who have leapt to the defence of Alexander Povetkin. I understand that there's an innocent until proven guilty factor to consider. I understand that drug testing is a very complex subject, but to me it seems bizarre the strength of opinion in the hardcore boxing community of people leaping to the defence of Alexander Povetkin. And I quite simply do not understand why there is so much passion behind the defence in Alexander Povetkin. Let me say, on my channel, I have my favourite fighters, as does everyone, but nobody is above criticism. Nobody is in a position where they can't be praised. You know, as you guys know, I'm a huge Team Fury fan. I'm a huge Billy Joe Saunders fan. I was critical of Hughie Fury just the other day for not taking the Dillian White fight. I was critical of Tyson Fury just the other day for the physical condition he was in advance of his fight with Vladimir Klitschko. I was critical of Billy Joe Saunders for his weight gain outside of the ring and his announcement that he was looking to fight. I forgot even the name of the guy. Max Bursak now for a middleweight title. So yeah, I have my favourites. We all do, but those guys aren't immune from criticism on my channel. But let's look at the facts of the matter here with Alexander Povetkin. Now, Alexander Povetkin, before we get into it, was a very good fighter, both in the amateurs and the pros. He is a very good heavyweight. His resume is very good. He genuinely is a top-class power puncher. I'm not going to sit here in this video and suggest that Alexander Povetkin can't punch. I'm not going to sit here in this video and suggest that Alexander Povetkin is not a world-class fighter, right? But I want to challenge some of the viewpoints that are being voiced by people who don't believe Povetkin was taking performance-enhancing drugs. So I'm going to start by looking at Alexander Povetkin's career before he took a career-defining loss to Vladimir Klitschko. Now, here we are. So Povetkin, he goes the 10-round distance against Larry Donald. So Larry Donald takes in the distance, and Povetkin wins by a 10-round decision. And people should factor in that at the time, I believe Larry Donald was 40 years old when that fight occurred. Eddie Chambers goes the distance with Povetkin. He takes Povetkin to a 12-round unanimous decision. And during that fight, Eddie Chambers had a substantial injury. And let's not forget that despite that injury, Chambers caused Povetkin some problems. Jason Estrada takes Povetkin a 10-round distance, and Povetkin wins by unanimous decision. Nikolai Furfer. Now this is Nikolai Furfer, who has been KO'd by names such as James Northey, no, me neither, Joshua Bielkus, Ty Fields. Nikolai Furfer, who was KO'd by Tyson Fury, the feather-fisted Tyson Fury, supposedly. But Nikolai Furfer goes the 10-round distance with Alexander Povetkin. Ruslan Chagayev, who we recently saw stopped by Lucas Brown, he goes the 12-round distance with Alexander Povetkin. Marco Huck, yes that's right, Marco Huck, the cruiserweight, goes a 12-round distance with Alexander Povetkin. Povetkin struggles to a majority decision win. Let's not forget the Klitschko fight. Not only does Klitschko go 12 rounds with Povetkin, but on my scorecard, he wins every single round of the fight. So just to recap, Larry Donald goes the distance, Eddie Chambers goes the distance, Jason Estrada goes the distance, Nikolai Furfer goes the distance, Chagayev goes the distance, Huck goes the distance and almost wins, Vlad goes the distance and beats him in every round. My point here is, as I said at the start of the video, Povetkin is a world-class fighter. Povetkin is a legit power puncher. But let's be honest, he's not a beast. As I say, Furfer went the distance with him. This is a guy who was knocked out by heavyweights I haven't even heard of. This is a guy who was knocked out by Tyson Fury, who supposedly can't crack an egg. Larry Donald goes the distance at 40 years old. Eddie Chambers goes the distance with an injury. Then Povetkin takes his loss against Vladimir Klitschko. I won't go into that because we've discussed that in other videos. And what happens in his comeback? Manuel Charr is knocked unconscious with a one-punch knockout. Carlos Takam, who had never been stopped before in a fight, I'm not even sure he'd ever been dropped before actually, is stopped with a devastating one-punch knockout. Mike Perez, who had never been stopped before, who had never been dropped before, who had previously shown an iron chin in fights with Magomed Abdusalamov, had never been hurt by Bryant Jennings, Mike Perez is devastatingly knocked out in a single round. Mariusz Wach, who was known as the best chin in heavyweight boxing, is stopped and says Alexander Povetkin hits harder than anything he's ever seen before in heavyweight boxing. At the same time, Povetkin, to my eye at least, maybe I've got slight difficulties, but Povetkin, to my eye, appears to have had a radical transformation in his build. He's gone from a soft heavyweight with a lot of flab, carrying a lot of puppy fat on him, to a guy who seems to be a lot drier in his build, a lot stronger in his build, a lot physically more muscular. What I'm getting at here is we have a guy in Alexander Povetkin who has tested positive for a performance enhancing drug. A trace of this drug has shown up in his system. It ties in with a change in physical build, to my eye at least. And to me, it certainly ties in with a change in fortunes in the ring. 40-year-old Larry O'Donnell goes the distance. Injured Eddie Chambers goes the distance and causes problems. Jason Estrada goes the distance. Journeyman Nikolai Furfer goes the distance. Ruslan Chagayev goes the distance. Cruiserweight Marco Huck goes the distance. Vladimir Klitschko dominates every round. Yet Manuel Charr, Carlos Takam and Mike Perez are all the victims of devastating one-punch KOs. Mariusz Wach, supposedly the top chin in heavyweight boxing, is stopped and says he's never experienced anything like the power of Mariusz Wach. And yet people don't find this suspicious. Povetkin takes a career-defining loss and reappears immediately with a new build and devastating one-punch knockout power. Mike Perez, who had never been dropped before and had shown an iron chin in previous fights, is destroyed in a single round. The guy then tests positive for a performance-enhancing drug. Yet people are leaping to his defence. I don't understand this. I'm no Deontay Wilder fan. I've been massively critical of Deontay Wilder on this channel. I've been massively critical of his level of opposition. I've been massively critical of his level of defence. But we've got to call it how we see it, surely. Alexander Povetkin has just had a test that shows there is trace of this performance-enhancing drug in his system. It coincides with a dramatic change in build and a dramatic change in fortunes in the ring in terms of the way he's been winning his fights. And before anyone points out that this drug isn't a steroid, it doesn't directly increase power, get real. Number one, it could be a masking agent. Number two, if this drug is a stamina increasing drug that increases blood flow, then a side effect of that is going to be increased speed, increased power, and increased performance as a whole. I understand that drug testing needs to be robust. I understand we shouldn't jump to throw fighters under a bus. But for those looking to defend Alexander Povetkin, genuinely, I question whether you have an ulterior motive. If you want to leap to defence of a guy who's failed a drug test, Alexander Povetkin, for me, is not the scapegoat you should choose. For me, the guy is guilty as sin, and I wholeheartedly applaud Deontay Wilder and Team Wilder for their statement that not only will they not be fighting Deontay Wilder, not only will they not be postponing the fight with Alexander Povetkin, but actually the fight's off. Let me know your thoughts. If you enjoyed this, do hit the thumbs up. Many thanks for watching.